Well, welcome everybody. This is ROI Real Estate Investors Meetup Group number 13. It's July 8th, 2020. Like many people, I kind of feel like every day is the same as every other day. We're still in this COVID-19 thing, and we are going to work our way out of it. It looks very positive for BC, for Alberta, the prairie provinces. Quebec's doing a good job. Ontario's getting on top of it. So thankfully, that is good news. Not so good news, as you may know, as I'm sure all of you know, in the United States. They're having a great deal more difficulty. So we do not know what the future holds for our economy. 85% of Canadian exports, something like that, maybe it's 90%, go to the United States. So unless they get control of COVID-19, their economy is likely to to be in a considerable pause. Not to mention that Stats Canada reported that in April of this year, the Canadian economy went down by 11%. That's a GDP, gross domestic product, decrease of 11%, the highest ever on record, even going back to the Great Depression. So, you can always look at the glass as half empty, but Dave, as you'll meet him, Dave Dubeau, our special guest today, you'll meet him in a second, is a glass half full guy, and so am I. And there is tremendous opportunity, both in Canada and in the United States, despite this pandemic that has swept through really the world. So my name is Bruce Firestone, and this is the ROI Group. It is our last meetup until September. We don't do a meetup in August, and you can sort of see on the screen why. It's a big holiday month, at least I hope it will be for some of us, and maybe all of us if we could get a few days off. I'm planning to take a week off. And so if anybody's going to email me around the August 7th to August 15th timeframe, I won't be answering emails. I'm on that all the time, 24/7, 360 days a year. But for 5 to 6 or 7 days, I will be taking a break. Excuse me. We're really lucky, though, today to have Dave with us. But before I introduce Dave and what we're going to talk about today, I want to thank a couple of our sponsors. I've thanked others at other times. Steve Shepard is probably the best young real estate lawyer I know. He's a wonderful friend. He certainly helped me, saved me. And he's a sponsor of our group. And he runs his own firm called SKS Law. I can't say enough about him. And then, of course, some of you may have been on the ROI Group meeting when Matt Slobodian presented. Matt Slobodian does commercial real estate. He's a financing specialist. He's based in Winnipeg. But he does commercial, but commercial is kind of a gray area, and it does include multi-residential. And right now he's working on a project in British Columbia, helping a client of mine who's building 700 units there. And he's a specialist in CMHC financing. And I can't remember exactly what the number is, but it's something like 50-year financing, 100% loan to value. 1 or 2%. I think it's 1%, or it's in the 1 to 2% range. So he's also a sponsor of our group. I'm very grateful for that. And if you want to reach out to Matt, if you're doing any multi-res, I think that's the person you should go to, because these are tricky applications. If you haven't already done it, you should probably go to Facebook. I know a lot of people aren't really keen on Facebook, but it is a utility that I use from time to time. Certainly I post there. And we have a Real Estate Investors ROI networking group on Facebook. You can find us there. It's free. We have about 555 people on that group. I think Dave's Facebook page is much, much bigger, but this is anyway what I have organized. And you can find it. And for some reason, I called it RER. You can see it down here, REI-ROI. That's how it shows up on Facebook. So that really stands for Real Estate Investors Return on Investment. It probably should have said ROI Group, but if you're looking for it on Facebook, you have to use REI-ROI. Sorry about that, but there you go. And you can join there. So now is my really great privilege to introduce Dave Dubeau, who's a good friend, is based in BC, as I think you heard earlier. And he's a best-selling author. I don't know how many books he's written. He'll tell you himself when it's his turn to present. I've read Magnetic Investor Attraction. I haven't read No Sweat Real Estate Investing, but I'm looking forward to reading it. And he's written many other books. He specializes in this. He focuses on this. How do you find investors, which is a really important question, and not just in real estate, mind you, but in just about every business field that you can imagine. So he's an expert in raising capital from investors. And as I said, it's a critical skill, especially in these challenging times. The good news, and Dave will say it himself, is that there are people with money who need you. You're the entrepreneurs. I'm an entrepreneur. Dave's an entrepreneur. And with all due respect, real estate investors need us as much, if not more, because they have money but no time, and we have time but maybe not as much money as we'd like to have. So they need our skill, our sweat equity, and Dave will certainly talk about that. And Dave is going to also provide some free books to everybody who has joined the webinar today, so we'll hear about that as well. And I just clipped this off the internet. I stole it off the internet. You know, I said Dave is a glass half full kind of guy, and I just pulled this off the internet. It's supposed to be funny. You know, the guy is thinking, I might fall in love again, and the woman is thinking, oh, geez, I like him, but bring on the pain. Glass half full or glass half empty.
Have you talked to my ex-wife or something? What's going on here?
I wasn't going to mention that. I wasn't going to bring that up, Dave. But, you know, I do know Dave is an optimist. And I think that's a really important thing, you know, not just because we're in this COVID-19 era, but also even before that. If you don't believe in yourself, no one else is going to believe in you. You have to have confidence in yourself. And we're going to hear, I've been through Dave's slides a couple of times. We're going to hear a lot about that. But this is the man you want to learn from, because he really knows this stuff better than anyone else. I like. One of the things I saw in Dave's slide deck is that you want investors calling you. And for a person like me who is really bad at cold calling, I'm just horrible at it. You know, do you really want to call people up and say, hey, can you give me some money? I mean, I don't want to do that. And so Dave's methodology has investors calling you. And as I said, don't undervalue yourself. You have the skills, you have the opportunities. And, you know, a lot of investors are not happy. You guys know this. They're not happy with their RRSPs and their mutual funds and their 401ks in the United States, their Canada pension plan, whatever. They just aren't getting enough of a return. So they do want to hear from you, but it's certainly a lot easier for you, I'm sure, and certainly for me, to have people calling you, hey, how can I co-invest with you? And I do have people who've taken Dave's course, by the way, that I coach, that tell me his methodology really does work. And he does, you know, one in particular that I'm thinking about, a young man in his 40s, has investors calling him all the time. Can I participate in your next investment? So I know it works. And then Roxanne, one of the people I coach, and I think she's in the Pivot course with me, she said, well, not only who likes making cold calls, who likes receiving them, right? So I didn't think of that, Roxanne did. And so I do think that's really, really important. Just the last comment, Dave, before I turn it over to you, is I do like investors, Dave, and everybody on the call. And I prefer investors to partners. And the difference, at least in my mind, between an investor and a partner, an investor really just wants a return on investment. They don't want to run the business. They don't really want to have a big say in the business. They want you to be up at 3 o'clock in the morning worrying about, can I get it leased? Can I get it financed? Can I get it finished? Can I get it renovated? All of those things. They just want to hear that, hey, it's going great, and here's your check for the your share of the net operating income. Partners, on the other hand, do want to say in the business, generally speaking. So I distinguish between an investor and a partner. Not really keen on partners, because one of the questions I was going to ask Dave later is, there's still 2 chairs in heaven waiting for the first 2 partners to get there and like each other. And how do you deal with that kind of situation? But investors, generally, as long as you're performing adequately, they're good. They'll leave you alone. They want to hear from you once or twice a year. So I really quite like that. One thing about questions today, normally in the ROI group, I do stop the presenters. I put my hand up and I look at the chat box, and there's a few questions there, and I would interrupt Dave. But Dave is a flow guy, so we're going to let him rip through his presentation, take a little bit more than an hour. But we'll have plenty of time at the end for questions. So type your questions into the chat box, but I'm not going to interrupt Dave's flow. Okay, Dave?
Perfect. Thank you, my friend.
All right. So with that, it's over to you.
All right, let's see if I can share the screen here. Is everybody able to see that all right?
Beautiful.
Fantastic. Welcome, everybody. Dave Dubeau, Finding Investors, Raising Capital in Challenging Times. Bruce, thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much for getting this all organized. And if we could, well, we can, but I'll give Bruce a big round of applause for everything he does. I am a huge fan of Mr. Bruce Firestone. Known him for a number of years now. I've gotten some coaching with Bruce, some great advice from Bruce. He is the most creative person I have ever met when it comes to real estate investing. And if you're looking for the best coach I can possibly think of, Bruce is your guy. So thanks so much, Bruce. Really, really appreciate that. And like I mentioned earlier, if you're on the call live, I've got some free gifts for you. A lot of people say they like free stuff, so I'm going to give it to you. First thing is, if you look in the middle there, I'm actually going to give you a copy of the slide deck from today's presentation, but only if you're watching this live. And the reason is I'm going to go through 171 slides in about 60 minutes. So there's no way you can keep up trying to take notes. Do jot down a few notes, but I'd rather have you focus on the big picture. Second big gift I'm going to give you is a PDF copy of my newest book, The Money Partner Formula. So that's another free gift for you, and that kind of goes into all of this stuff more in depth. And then third one is a special report I put together, the top 7 ways to generate immediate credibility. Because in order for people to invest with you, they need to know you, like you, and trust you. And that's all about creating that trust factor. So here's what's going to happen, you guys. I'm going to tell you how to get the gifts at the end of the presentation, right before I open up for Q&A. All right. Now, today's presentation is really supposed to be a big picture, 30,000 foot perspective. However, this young fellow reached out to me and said, Dave, after watching your free webinar, I ended up raising $100,000. All right. So pay attention. You're going to learn some great stuff here today. And again, jot down some notes, but really focus on the big picture. So let's start off. Why is it that some people are successful at real estate investing while the majority are not? And we've all heard of the 80-20 rule, the Pareto principle. Definitely applies in everything, definitely applies in real estate investing. And what I want to do is what I've seen, and Bruce, I'm sure you've seen this a lot as well, is that people get stuck with 1, 2, maybe 3 properties in their portfolio, then they run out of gas. So I want to help you get unstuck, go from the bottom 80% up into the top 20%, and ideally into the top 5%. And I firmly believe in this saying by Stephen Covey, I'm not a product of my circumstances. I am a product of my decision. That has been true for me for good and for bad throughout my life. All right. And I think this is really, really going to come into play right now while everybody's in this whole COVID situation, while a lot of people are in hibernation mode, kind of waiting to see what happens, kind of hoping for the best. I think now is the time to get our ducks in a row and get things set up for the opportunities that I believe are going to be coming out on the other end of this whole thing. Now, over the last 15 years that I've been teaching and training people, I've seen people start from scratch and become very, very successful quickly in spite of what other people use as hurdles or roadblocks or excuses. So I've seen people young and old become very, very successful quickly. The youngest I'm aware of, 15 years old, just bought his first 5-plex using other people's money. I've had clients and students in their 70s just get started and become successful. So age doesn't need to get in the way. Male, female, doesn't matter. Great example of this, my own mother, way back in the 1970s and early 80s, she was a single mom, working mom, raising a snot-nosed kid, yours truly, and at the same time built up a portfolio of over 50 doors. And that was way back when, before there were gurus, before there were coaching programs, before there were home study programs. She made it happen way back in the day. So that doesn't need to get in the way. The color of your skin, where you come from, your beliefs, none of that needs to stop you. How much money you currently have or don't have, your current credit situation, contacts, previous experience, none of that needs to get in the way. Other people have overcome this and become very successful quickly. Also, economic uncertainty, times like we're in right now, these are times of great opportunity. Like Bruce mentioned, I am definitely an optimist, but I'm a realist as well. And if you could just look back through history, you see that the times where there are the greatest challenges, economic challenges, are also the times where folks become incredibly wealthy. And I think there is great opportunity for all of us as real estate investors. There's also no magic real estate investment strategy that's better than others. I've seen people become very, very successful with long-term buy and hold of single-family homes, the BRRRR strategy, or putting suites into properties, buy, fix, and sells, lease option deals, commercial properties, commercial residential properties, building stuff from the ground up, Canucks going down to the States doing tax liens, tax deeds, mobile home investing, mobile home park investing, self-storage, you name it. People are successful in all of these different realms. So what is it? What is it that is that golden key to success? Well, it's simple, really. Once you've got the ABCs of whatever strategy is that you're doing, it's all about accessing the capital. Now you're saying, well, Dave, yeah, I know that. That's why we're on today's call. But what I'm going to be sharing with you here today is probably going to fly in the face of so-called, common knowledge around real estate investing and raising capital. What I'm going to be suggesting to you here today is basically a 180 from everything else you've probably ever heard about attracting investors and raising capital. It's going to make things so much easier, faster, and simpler for you. And it's going to take away all of the sting of rejection. All right. So now we are in the time of crisis. I don't speak Chinese, but I'm told that the Chinese character for crisis is a combination of danger and opportunity. So we're definitely in dangerous times with the pandemic going on, and there are going to be tons of opportunity. And I firmly believe that real estate, a good real estate deal, is so much better. It's a much better investment choice for average folks compared to pretty much anything else out there, anything else I'm aware of. So for example, the stock market, great example. It is so volatile, you guys. We've seen this and just recently. So this is a graph of what happened this year in March when the whole COVID thing really hit. So way back in 1987, the powers that be that control the stock market put in a breaker switch so that if it fell a certain amount too fast, the whole thing would turn off and allow people to cool off for about, I think it's 20 minutes, something like that. So between 1987 and 2020, the breaker switch flicked off once. I believe it was around 2007, 2008, around the Bear Stearns time frame when all that happened. Okay, fast forward to 2020. Right around that time in March, the breaker switch went off 3 times. I think it was in a 24-hour period. Okay, went off once in 33 years, went off 3 times in a 24-hour period. That shows you how volatile the stock market is. The stock market is completely, in my opinion, run on fear and greed. That's about it. All right. Now, the real estate market is so much better and it's so much more logical and it's so much, it goes up and down, but not like that and not that fast. All right. Now, everybody else is kind of hunkered down. A lot of other real estate investors are kind of in the wait and see mode. Now is the time to take my early marketing mentor's advice. And he says, if you want to be successful, take a look around at what everybody else is doing and do the exact opposite. And chances are you'll be very, very successful. Be fearful when others are greedy and greedy when others are fearful. Now, when I'm talking about being greedy, I don't mean stealing houses from little old ladies. No, I'm talking about being ready for opportunities when they do arise, and they will arise out of this whole COVID thing. We just have to be ready for them. Also, like Bruce said, be the glass half full person within your sphere of influence. And we all have a sphere of influence, whether we know it or not. These are people that we have a pre-existing relationship with. So what I'm going to suggest to you here today is let's take a position of leadership, positive leadership, without being Pollyanna, but positive leadership, and show people how the glass is half full. Now is the time, folks, to get your ducks in a row, to get your, what I call, get your investors lined up, ready to go in the wings. If you want to write something down, that's the whole goal of this process. The whole goal of the process I'm going to be teaching here today is to get a group of investors lined up, ready to go. They've all said, yes, I'm in, show me a good deal, and I'll bring in the bucks, all right? That is the goal of this whole process. And if you're not already doing this, I think I probably know what's holding you back, because it's the same thing that held me back for a long time. And it's this whole thing about picking up the 800-pound telephone and calling people up asking for money. None of us like that idea. None of us like the idea, A, of being rejected, which we know is going to happen a ton. We also don't like the idea of coming across as needy, as desperate, as kind of like beggars with our hats in our hand looking for a handout. Nobody wants to be seen that way. And that's, quite frankly, the exact wrong positioning that you should have when it comes to raising capital. So what I'm going to show you today, what I'm going to share with you today, is a process for turning that all around, to completely flipping that around. And instead of us chasing after investors, instead of us coming across as desperate, needy, creepy, right? Nobody likes to receive those cold calls, just like Bruce said, like Roxanne pointed out to him. So why don't we turn things around? How would you like this idea? How would you like the idea of people calling you, texting you, emailing you, instant messaging you, interested in deals? Folks reaching out to you who are already pre-educated about what you're up to, pre-motivated to invest with you, pre-qualified to invest with you, reaching out, asking you for more information about your deals. That is the goal of this whole process. It makes life so much easier, so much better if they're coming to you instead of you chasing after them. All right. So before we jump in, let me give you a quick little dose of reality here, folks. And I'm going to say something very, very dangerous. And I hope that Bruce doesn't smack me for saying this, but I'm going to say it anyhow. And here it is. Nobody really loves real estate. Dangerous thing to say in a group full of real estate weirdos like myself. And I say that with love and affection. We are weird. You know this. You know this when you talk to the general population, to the what I call the civilian population about your real estate deals. Their eyes glaze over. They're kind of zoned out. You know that we're kind of different, right? But here's the truth. If you had the choice between doing whatever it is that you're doing with real estate investing or winning that super max lotto down in the States, the Super Bowl or whatever the hell it's called, for like 480 million bucks, and just having money magically drop into your bank account with no effort, I know you'd be hanging out in the hammock on the beach somewhere, getting the money from the magic lotto ball. I know that. But here's the thing. We know that we're not going to win that lotto. We know that real estate is the best vehicle available to create our ideal income through cash flow, our ideal net worth, and bottom line, our ideal lifestyle. That's what it's all about. We understand that real estate is that vehicle that we've chosen to do what we want to do with our lives financially. So I'm going to use this as an analogy as we go through the presentation. Real estate is the vehicle. Every vehicle needs a couple of things. Needs a driver, and you are the driver of your real estate vehicle. A vehicle also needs fuel. And cash, cold hard cash, capital is the fuel that makes our real estate vehicle go along. So when it comes to the fuel, we've got a couple of choices. We can self-finance our deals like most of us do when we first get started. That's kind of like having a little jerry can of gas in the garage. You put that in the vehicle and off you go, and it's going to get you so far. But sooner or later, this is going to happen. You're going to run out of gas. You're going to get stuck. You're going to stall out, and your portfolio is going to just flounder where it's at. All right. That is why the vast majority of active Canadian real estate investors are stuck with 1, 2, or 3 deals in their portfolio, is because they self-financed and they ran out of capital. I want to help you get unstuck, because having investors lined up, ready to go in the wings, that's like having your very own gas station. You can go there anytime you want, 24/7, and fill up the car and off you go. Okay, very, very quickly, a little bit about my background. Born and raised Northern British Columbia, Canada, and a little town, Bruce, you didn't even know this, little town that's claimed to fame. CBC put us on the map a few years ago with a show called Village on a Diet, for crying out loud. So my hometown is known for having a bunch of fatties. So when I was growing up there, it was about 600 population. It's since ballooned, pun intended, to about 1,200, but still pretty small place. Anyhow, graduated from high school, went to school, university, got a BA, which stands for Basically Asinine, degree in psychology, and didn't have a very good grade point average. No jobs rushing at me when I graduated way back in 1990. So I said, screw it, I'm going to go see the world. I picked up a backpack and started traveling around Mexico and Central America. Ended up after 2.5 years down in San Jose, Costa Rica. Fell in love with the country, fell in love with the people, fell in love with one specific person, and decided to plant my flag and start a business. Had no experience, had no money, had no clue. I was kind of this poetic justice. I was a Canadian wetback working illegally in Latin America. So that's how I got started. I ended up marrying the person I met in Costa Rica, created a fairly successful language training company down there, had a good lifestyle. I mean, with a middle-class lifestyle down there, you can live in a nice home, drive a decent vehicle, have maids and gardeners and all this kind of stuff that's really, really expensive to do here in Canada, but that's kind of the norm down there. So I did that for 10 years. And then 2003, by that time we had 2 little kids, we decided to pack everything up and move to Canada, to a little place called Kamloops, British Columbia. Everybody goes, Dave, all right, you had the life, you went where most people want to retire to, and then you gave all that up and started all over again from scratch in Kamloops. Why would you do that? Well, here's the thing. Unless you've lived outside of Canada for any amount of time, you don't realize how good we've got it here. And being in Latin America, Costa Rica is a wonderful country. I love it, highly recommend it. Relatively speaking, pretty safe. But being a pasty-faced white guy like I am, whether you have money or not, people assume that you do, and there's a big target on your back. All right. And I know folks who've been kidnapped and ransomed and things like that. Not something I wanted to have happen to myself, and definitely not to my family. So we moved to Canada to offer our kids a better place to grow up and a better education. But here's the challenge. I had to start over again from scratch. I wasn't able to sell that business in Costa Rica, so I didn't have much money. I'd been self-employed for so long, I was pretty much unemployable. New town, no contacts, renting a crappy townhouse on the wrong side of the tracks. I was under a lot of pressure to get my you-know-what together financially. So I was up late one night with insomnia, and I saw one of those infomercials come across the TV, American Guru, right? Here's a way to get rich in real estate with little or no money down. And I said, you know what? That's perfect, because that's exactly what I got, little or no money. So I sent away for the system, got a bunch of CDs and binders. I think there might have been a VHS cassette tape or 2 in there, and off it went. And I had to Canadianize what I learned, but I put it into play. And my first little claim to fame, real estate-wise, is in the small city of Kamloops, which was about 80,000 people. I was able to do 18 deals in 18 months. And all of those deals were with little or no money down, no realtors, no surfing the MLS. It was all by applying marketing and attracting motivated sellers to me. So that's when I really kind of jumped into real estate. Fast forward a couple of years, I connected with an up-and-coming Canadian guru, real estate guru, who's just starting his education training company and capital raising company. And he found out what I was doing with marketing and my experience in marketing, because I was pretty good at marketing, and brought me on as his marketing guy for his company. So we helped him grow from a startup to 128 employees, 7 branch offices, and about $200 million a year in gross revenues over the 5 or 6 years that I was working with him. And during that time, that's when I started writing books. At this point, I'm up to book number 8. I wrote and co-authored a bunch of books, started teaching and training. That's where I really developed my passion for this side of the whole thing. So the whole teaching and training type thing. Fast forward to 2010, so I'd taken some time off from real estate, decided to jump back in. And this time I got into what's called tenant first or client first rent to own deals. Find a tenant buyer, go shopping for a house, buy them a house, rent to own them the house for 2 to 3 years, and then sell it to them at the end. All right. So like everybody else, I self-financed my first 2 deals. By that time I had pretty good credit, had some cash, and I self-financed the first 2. And then of course I ran out of cash. And I'd heard, hey, just find a good deal and the money will find you. Bruce, put up your hand if you've heard that one before. Have you heard that one? Find a good deal, the money will magically find you. Well, I knew I had to do, and this is what happened. I had the perfect tenant buyers land on my lap. So we went out, got a house under contract for them. I needed $85,000 for the down payment, property transfer taxes, closing expenses, all that kind of stuff. But I knew the money wasn't just going to magically fall out of the sky. I was going to have to go shake the tree a bit. So I had heard, pick up the phone and start dialing for dollars, start cold calling. So that's what I did, Bruce. I'd cold called. I'd like to say I did 100 calls. I didn't. I did about 5 or 6, got rejected, pouted, and said, I don't want to do this anymore. All right. So then I said, okay, well, cold calling's not working for me. Nope. I'd also heard, you know what, Dave, you need to go out and you need to turn every conversation into a real estate conversation. Go out, network, and schmooze and shake a bunch of hands. So that's what I did. I was part of the Chamber of Commerce, went to the Chamber of Commerce luncheon, went to local BNI groups, went to Toastmasters I was part of, all these different groups. And I talked up a storm, handed out cards, picked up cards, raised zero capital. All right. So now I'm running out of time because I had like 2 weeks to remove subjects. Got a 1 week extension on this. And that's why I came up with what I thought was a brilliant idea. I said, hey, why don't I put together a little 1-page PDF about how awesome this deal is? And I'll email it out to everybody that I know. So that's what I did. And I got excited because I started getting all these responses. But then I started reading all these responses. And most of them were saying stuff like, hey, Dave, haven't heard from you in 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, whatever it was. And here you are, hit me up for cash. Take a hike or some version thereof. Usually not that polite. Bottom line, you guys, painful experience. I ended up not being able to close on that deal. My tenant buyers had already given notice where they were renting. So they were in a real bind there. I had to help them out, obviously return all their money to them. Ticked off the seller, ticked off the realtor, ticked off the mortgage broker, got major egg on my face in a small town. And I'd calculated I was going to make a nice little $40,000 profit on that deal. Poof, that went up in smoke. Why did this happen? It was all my fault, you guys. It happened because I'd run out of gas and I didn't take action earlier, right? So that's when I really dialed in what I call the big lie in real estate investing. It's this. The big lie is this. Just find a good deal and the money will magically find you. I say balarkey to that, all right? That's not how it works. Here's how it works, you guys. Yes, if you got a good deal, if you've got the investors already lined up in the wings, ready to go, then yes, the money will find you. But you need to take Confucius's advice. I think he's the first guy that said this. Dig your well before you're thirsty. So in other words, raise the capital first. When it comes to the chicken and the egg, this is a writer downer, you guys. Chicken and the egg, which should I have first? Should I have the money first or should I have the deal first? Always have the money first. Always have the money first. All right? Money of the deal, have the money first. So that's when I decided, it's like our vehicle analogy, right? You wouldn't go across the country on a road trip without filling up the car with gas first. Same idea with real estate investing. So that's when I decided, hey, you know what? I'm going to really crack the code on this whole raising capital thing. So I read books, took courses, got some coaching. Most of it was the same crap, regurgitated in a different way about get better at cold calling, get better at closing techniques, get better at all this kind of stuff that manipulation and all this NLP type stuff and whatever. And I said, I don't really want to do this. And then I kind of smacked myself upside the head and said, Dave, you're pretty good at marketing. What if you applied marketing to attracting investors so that you got them coming to you instead of you chasing after them? That was my light bulb moment. Took me a while, a little bit of trial and effort, but came up with what I call my money partner formula, you guys. So simple 5-step process for accomplishing that exact thing, for getting people to reach out to you, pre-interested, pre-motivated, pre-qualified to invest with you. So we're going to go over this 5-step process here today. And since coming up with that, personally, I've raised millions of dollars for the deals that I've been involved in. But more importantly, I have helped my students and my clients cumulatively raise hundreds of millions of dollars for their deals. So Bruce, as we go through here, I'm going to share a few little case studies with people. I'm going to hopefully be able to share let me share my computer sound. You guys, I'm going to share a few little videos as we go through. The video quality is not going to be great. It's probably, the voice is not going to keep up with the video. Don't worry about that. Just focus on the message, okay?
Dave, yes. When you start your video, can you make sure you turn up your volume quite loud? It'll be a little loud for you, but it'll mean that the recording that I'm doing will just pick it up a little better.
You got it. All right, so the first example, you guys, is Rick Wheeler. First met Rick, he had his first property under his belt. Good for him. Bad news was he was negative $250 a month cash flow. Luckily, Rick was a smart guy, got educated about real estate investing, got educated about raising capital, finding investors, raising capital, and really turned his real estate business around, became a full-time real estate entrepreneur very, very quickly. So in this quick little video, I asked Rick, what's he been able to do because he's already got his investors lined up, ready to go in the wings. Have a quick listen to this, you guys.
There was absolutely zero way I could put the deal together on my own. Didn't have the finances or couldn't qualify for another mortgage, whatever it is. So I would have had to pass on deals that were great opportunities if I hadn't had investors on board.
So luckily for Rick, he did have investors on board, and he focuses on single family homes with suites. Last time I talked to him, he had 19 of these properties on the go in and around Edmonton. And the cool thing is, because of the way he structures things, he is cash flowing $900 a month per property. Bruce, you're better at math than I am. 900 times 19, I don't know exactly what it is, but it's pretty damn good.
I'll tell you in a second.
Well,
900 times 19 is $17,100. Is that every day or is that every month?
No, that's monthly.
I was just teasing you. $17,100 a month. Yeah, I'll take that, Dave.
All right, perfect. That's what's possible, you guys. And the cool thing is, each one of those 19 deals he did with an investor partner. All right, so that's what it's all about. So it's really up to you. You can continue to self-finance your deals, onesie, twosies. Goodness knows how long it's going to take you to do that. It's kind of like having a little econo car. It may or may not get you there, but it won't get you there very fast. Not going to be all that much fun. Versus starting to work with other people's money. That's like having a sports car. It's going to get you to your destination so much faster, and you're going to have a lot more fun doing it. So myself, I went from doing those creative deals back in the day, then I do rent-to-own deals, and since then, I've started focusing more on multifamily properties. So if you're aware of Robert Kiyosaki, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, his game cash flow, I've gone from the small deals up into the big deals. Quick example of this, out in your neck of the woods, actually, Bruce. A few years ago, raised $800,000 with 5 investor partners. And together, we bought this beautiful 54-unit apartment building complex, a little place called Smiths Falls, all right? $4.7 million. So 5-year profit projections, which have actually just come true. And these numbers are a little bit conservative. Cash flow over the 5 years, $355,000. Mortgage pay down, $485,000. Appreciation in that area, a little bit over 1.018 million. Total profits over $1.8 million to be shared with the investor partners. So why do I show this? It's because when you either start doing bigger deals or you do a higher volume of deals, it's just logical. It's going to get you where you want to go so much faster. So that first round worked so well. We rinsed and repeated again this 5-step process. A year later, we raised $2.1 million from 13 investor partners for a brand new development deal. All right. So you guys, that's what it's all about, attracting investors, raising capital. I'm going to teach you, again, the 30,000-foot perspective here today. If you really want to get into the weeds and learn this stuff hands-on, then I'm going to make a special invitation to have you come out to a 1-day virtual workshop I'm going to be holding on Saturday, July the 25th. And of course, we're going to have a Professor Bruce special offer for you at the end there. All right, let's jump into this 5-step process. Step number 1 is all about creating a target group of prospective investors who we're really going to focus on, and then connecting with them or reconnecting with them on a personal level first before we start talking business. Very, very important distinction there. Step number 2, presenting with poise and power. So we need to have an effective presentation to show people when they do put up their hand, because we can do everything else right, but when it comes to showing them the deal, if we screw that up, it's all for naught. So it's really important that you have a good, solid presentation. Step number 3, that's all about the marketing, what I call constant, consistent communication. We need to stay top of mind with people. Not everybody's going to be ready to invest with you right off the get-go. So you got to keep that constant, consistent communication going to stay top of mind. Step number 4 is all about demonstrating your authority, your credibility, your expertise. And here's the good news. Even if you only have 1 or 2 deals under your belt, you can be seen as a credible authority in the eyes of your investors. And step number 5, once we've got a couple of investors on the go, it's so much easier to get more of them when you start the snowball effect. And that is through really good testimonials and referrals. We're going to dig into each one of these a little bit more in depth here, you guys. So if you don't already have this going, here's some of the challenges you're facing. First of all, you don't have the capital you need to do the deals that you want to do. You're not sure how to get the word out, how to do the marketing about what you're up to. You're a little bit nervous about who you should be talking to and who you should not be talking to. Very, very important distinction, you guys, because especially here in Canada, we got this thing called the Securities Commission. Each province has one. You want to stay clear of them, all right? You want to stay compliant with them. And you're probably not sure if now's a good time to be talking about investing with you to folks that you know. I mean, a lot of people are out of work. Some people have lost their jobs. Other people have taken a real kicking in the stock market. Is now a good time to talk to people about investing money with you. You're probably not sure how to approach people without coming across as needy or creepy or desperate. And if they do show interest, what are you going to tell them? How are you going to say it? How are you going to talk about your deals? The bottom line is we're all busy. You don't want to spend a lot of time figuring this out. Another quick case study here. I love this example. Kathy Long kind of reminds me of the situation my mom was in back in the day. Anyhow, she found herself on the wrong end of a divorce and a single parent to 3 teenage sons trying to make a go of it on a secretary's salary. She got fed up. She said, enough's enough. She got educated about real estate investing. She got educated about raising capital using other people's money. Very, very quickly went from 0 to 21 units in her portfolio, then quickly to 30 units using other people's money. Bottom line, she very quickly, within 2 years, was able to quit the job, become a full-time real estate entrepreneur, have a multi-million dollar net worth thanks to real estate, thanks to using other people's money, you guys. Great example, great example. And she's from Edmonton originally, all right? So let's jump into the whole thing. Step number 1 is all about creating a target group of prospective investors. Here's what I want you guys to do. Take a piece of paper, draw a circle in that piece of paper, and draw the number 200 at the top of that circle. That is the magic number that we want to shoot for as a good target group of prospective investors. So who are we going to have in that target group? A lot of people, when they first get started, when it comes to raising capital, they say, well, Dave, you know what? Anybody would be fine as an investor partner. As long as they got a pulse and a checkbook that doesn't bounce, I'll take them. All right, and then kind of on the surface, that makes a little bit of sense. However, if we dig in deeper, it really doesn't. So people are talking about, you know, I'll just go out to the general public and try raising capital. So I see people doing this all the time. You know, they're advertising their deals on Facebook. They're doing all this stuff. It used to be in the Western Investor, in the newspapers, on Kijiji, all these kind of things, looking for investors. Well, a couple of challenges with that. First one is logic. I mean, think about it. If you're trying to raise $75, $100, $150, $200,000 for a deal or more, or you're trying to get that much from an investor partner, and you're trying to go out to people that you don't know, strangers, they don't know you, they don't like you, and they certainly don't trust you with their money. And those are the 3 things you need to have in place for people to invest with you. So there's none of those are in place. You have to start from scratch. So that's tough. That's a very big uphill battle. And the second reason is I want you to stay out of jail. Okay, basically, that's the big idea. Each province has a security commission, the Securities Commission. And again, caveat here, you guys, I'm not a lawyer. I'm not an accountant. I'm not a security specialist. I'm sharing my understanding of how things work. I'm sharing my experience, okay? So each province has a Securities Commission. Their mandate is to protect Joe Public from getting ripped off by con artists, which is a good thing, all right? So they have rules and regulations in place. And they say, hey, you know, in order for you to raise capital from the general public, you either have to have a license to do so, so be somebody like a financial planner, stockbroker, mortgage broker, that sort of thing, or you have to have special permission to do it, something through like an offering memorandum, which typically involves a heck of a lot of expense and red tape, and it's usually beyond the scope of most mom and pop real estate investors, all right? So that takes Joe Public off the table, all right? So there are a couple of exceptions. One exception is they say, okay, there is a group of people you can go after that are strangers that you can raise as much capital as you want from, and those are accredited investors. And typically each province is a little bit different, but typically they're high income, high net worth individuals. So like earning $200,000 to $300,000 a year, net worth of at least $1 million, excluding primary residence, that sort of thing. So if you know a bunch of those folks, great, go for it. Here's the challenge. They're kind of few and far between. This is like the top 5% of Canadians financially. Everybody's going after them. There's a lot of competition for their attention and for their money as well, okay? So you're probably saying, well, Dave, you're supposed to be the glass half full kind of guy. What does that leave us? Well, it does leave us an option. I've got a big, warm, fuzzy picture up here because this is your sphere of influence. This is people that you already have a good pre-existing relationship with. So Securities Commission say we are allowed to raise capital from close friends, family, and work associates. All right, so that's what we're going to focus on. I want you to come up with a list of approximately 200 of these people. All right. And if I was doing this live and in person, some of you would be giving me this look. You'd be going, Dave, first of all, I don't know 200 people. I'll correct you there. I bet you probably do. And I'll show you how to find these 200 people in just a minute. Other people say, Dave, everybody I know is broke. Nobody could invest $75,000, $100,000 with me. They're all broke. I'm going to suggest that's probably not true either. Be careful when it comes to making assumptions. Quite often what you'll find, or what I've found, goes along perfectly with the book, The Millionaire Next Door. Most millionaires don't look like millionaires should in our minds, right? Most wealthy people are quite conservative. They're your neighbors, live in the same kind of house you do, drive regular vehicles. They're very good with their money. That's why they're wealthy, right? So don't make any assumptions, because quite often the folks that look all flash ain't got no cash. And the folks that look very, very modest have a lot of capital available. All right. Second thing people say, well, Dave, I don't like the idea of mixing business and friendship. Neither a borrower nor a lender be. That's what my mama told me years ago. I don't want to mix this stuff up. Okay, fair enough. However, and this will get to Bruce's point, the question that you wanted to have at the end as well, Bruce. It's all about how you set things up. So basically, what I'm going to suggest is, if you're working with friends and family, that's great. But here's the biggest mistake people make. They do it on a spit and a handshake. Big mistake. So if you're going to work with friends and family, treat them as if you were working with a complete stranger. Have everything done properly. Have everything done legally. Have everything done with contracts. Have everything set up. Have the proper expectations. Have the proper communication, as if you were dealing with a complete stranger. That will solve all of those challenges. All right, another thing people say, well, Dave, sounds good, but I've got a little bit of egg on my face still from a experience from a few years back. Either I had a business that failed, or I got involved in some sort of a networking marketing type thing, made a big splash, didn't make any money, neither did anybody that I signed up. So I kind of shot myself in the foot. Well, that doesn't need to stop either. I mean, heck, you're in good company. I think it's something like 36 million North Americans have taken a crack at it, at network marketing, and I think 14 have made it. I'm joking. But the success rate in multi-level marketing is minuscule. So what you can do is you can compare and contrast these different things that you've been involved in the past with real estate. You can show how real estate is so much better, how it's such a better investment choice, how the success rate in real estate is exponentially higher if you know what you're doing than it is in any of these other opportunities. So use it as a stepping stone. Don't use it as a wall. Does that make sense? Plus, everybody loves a good comeback story. So don't let that get in your way. Because here's the reason, you guys. I firmly believe, and if I can give you one gift here today, it would be this mindset shift. I firmly believe that it's our patriotic duty to educate our friends and our family about what we're up to with real estate investing, and allow them to make an educated decision about whether it makes sense for them or not. So I didn't say pressure them into investing with you. I didn't say manipulate them. I didn't say, browbeat them into investing with you. I said educate them and allow them to make their own educated decision. Because here's the reality, you guys. The average Canadian's investment choices absolutely suck, right? We've seen it. We see it with the stock market, mutual funds. We got the highest fees in the world getting charged in our mutual funds. So even if you're getting a decent return, by the time you take the fees into account, it's pitiful. Okay. So I don't know about you, but I really believe that a good real estate deal is the best way for everyday folks like you, like myself, like our investor partners, to get an above average return on our money, backed by a solid, tangible asset, a real piece of property, and something that we have control over. And Bruce is the absolute best at this, at how to animate properties, how to turn things around, how to create value with these things. We can't do that with any other investment choice. So this is the best choice for you, for them, for us, all right? And real estate is just so much better for most people. And it's also about realizing, as Bruce touched on, we're actually doing our investor partners a huge service, a huge favor, by bringing them on to a good real estate deal with us. This is perfectly illustrated with one of my most successful students, John. John has raised, at this point, over $32 million for his real estate deals. And I interviewed him a couple of years ago, and I asked him, who do you like to have as your investor partners, and what's an example of something you've been able to do for your investors? So have a little listen to this, you guys, and listen for this and think about how would it feel if you were able to do something like this for your investor partners as well. Let me crank up the volume. All right, here we go, you guys. Dun, dun, dun.
It was a big light bulb aha moment when I learned that I could partner with other people. So that idea was totally new to me before I had met you, Dave. And now it's something that I do very regularly. I actually prefer working with friends and family because I like working hard knowing that they're making a good return, and I like being able to help out my sphere a little more directly like that. So I really like growing my friends' money and helping them do something that they can't on their own. I get very happy investors, Dave. I've got one client in particular where I'll be sending them enough money every month that they can actually be retired off the passive income that they get. And so that just makes me feel really good, because that's one of the things that I got into this to do, was so that I could do that for myself. Now I have the power to be able to do that for other people.
I love that example, you guys. So, think about it. Maybe helping somebody retire, that might be a bit of a stretch, but if because of investing with you, you're able to help one of your investor partners put a kid through university, would that be pretty cool? Or if you were able to help that investor partner take a well-deserved vacation or a cruise or something like that they wouldn't otherwise, would that be pretty cool? Or if you're able to help them augment their retirement income, would that be pretty cool? All of that stuff would be amazing. So most of us, when we first get into this, it's all about me. What can my investors do for me? But we got to take into account, what are we able to do for our investor partners that they cannot or will not do on their own? It's all about creating win-win scenarios. Here's an example of Rena. She's one of our very happy investors from that apartment building deal, getting her first cash flow check. So that's what it's all about, creating win-win scenarios with our investor partners, all right? And you guys, now is the perfect time. This COVID thing sucks, that's for sure, but it is a great time to reconnect with people that you haven't been in touch with for a long time, all right? So I mentioned we're going to go after a target group of 200 prospective investors. People always say, Dave, I don't know 200 people. There's no way I can come up with a list of 200 people. Well, let's do something different. Instead of you having to think up 200 people, let's start with maybe 1,000, 1,500, maybe 2,000 people, and then quickly whittle it down to 200 people. That's much easier. Trust me, this is what we do with our VIP clients, all right? So where do we find them? First thing is, take a look on your cell phone. Export all of your contacts from your cell phone and get them into one place, into something like an Excel spreadsheet, all right? Export all your contacts from your cell phone. Same thing with your email address or email addresses. Some of us have had the same email address for 20 plus years now, all right? Or you got multiple email addresses. Get all your contacts from all those sources, get them into that spreadsheet. Same thing with your old address book or business cards that are lying around. Same thing with all of your social media contacts. Export them all, get them into that spreadsheet. Now, a lot of the people that you're going to have in there aren't really close friends, business associates, or relatives. But what we do is we start with that big group and quickly filter it down. And it's so much easier to filter it down to 200 than to try to think up 200 people in the first place. All right? All right, you guys. Now, don't make the mistake I did. Once you've got all of your contacts in one place, don't just start cold calling or spamming or anything like that. Break the ice first before you start talking business. Don't make that dumb mistake I did back in the day where I spammed everybody. Break the ice first on a personal level before you start talking business. All right, so that's step number one. Let's take a look at step number two of this 5-step process. It's all about what I call your $1 million investor presentation. So I firmly believe that we all should have a really well-structured, well-put-together, attractive slideshow presentation, like a PowerPoint or a keynote. Lots of reasons for that. First of all, well, for me, it's really important. It helps keep me on track. Otherwise, I tend to go off on tangents and things can take a lot longer than they should. Second thing is, it's a lot more interesting for the other person to look at. Third thing is, it makes sure I don't forget any of the most important parts. And then the other great thing about a good slideshow presentation is it's so, you can use it in so many different environments, right? So you can use this one-on-one or small group presentations. Not that we're doing that much of those with the whole COVID thing going on. So the good news is we can use them in online presentations, either one-on-one or in group environments like we're in right now. works like gangbusters, you guys. Now, make sure in your presentation that you address people's concerns up front. So don't try and whitewash the fact that we're in this whole COVID situation that's kind of an unknown for everybody. Address it up front and show them why you think there's going to be lots of opportunities coming out of that situation. A good presentation, you guys, makes the difference between raising capital and not raising capital. Like I said, you can do everything else right, but when the rubber hits the road and you're talking to somebody about your deal, if you screw that up, it's all for naught. Does that make sense? So a good presentation can work wonders. Here's an example. This is Brendan. Brendan was a new investor when I started working with him. He learned about how to create his $1 million investor presentation. Very first time out the gate, he got the lady that he was presenting to on board. She was so excited, she brought on 2 of her friends. He got 3 investors from 1 presentation. Well, some of that beginner's luck, yes, I'm sure it was, but it also had a lot to do with having a really good presentation. So make sure you've got a good slideshow presentation. And nowadays, you guys, Zoom can be your new best friend because Zoom is the best platform, as far as I'm concerned, for doing online presentations like this. All right, let's go ahead. Step number 3. Now that we got our target group, now that we got our $1 million investor presentation ready to go, now it's time to start getting the word out with marketing about what we're up to. And nowadays, you guys, there's so many different things that we can do online and offline. Bottom line, a couple of suggestions. My favorite online strategies or tactics are electronic newsletters, also known as e-zines, and video logs, also known as vlogs. All right, those work really, really well. However, there's so many other things you can do as well. You can do direct mail, you can do email blasts, you can do all sorts of different things. Bottom line is, come up with something that you enjoy doing or that at least you don't mind doing and do it consistently. Constant, consistent communication. Even if it's just once a month, as long as you got something coming out consistently, that's great. Then you can build it up over time and get up to 2, 3, maybe 4 times a month. Bottom line, once you get this up and running and you create curiosity, you do what I call edutain people, combination of education and entertainment, then with a call to action, then you're going to get them reaching out to you. People say, well, Dave, how do you get people reaching out to you asking about your deals? I market to them and I tell them to reach out to me. That's exactly how it happens. So that's how you get people calling you, texting you, emailing you, direct messaging you about your deals and how you can avoid the whole cold calling thing, you guys. And now is the perfect time to double down on your marketing. Chances are you got a little bit more time than you did before. It's all about attracting people to us and getting them to put up their hand and say, yes, I'm interested. Tell me more, because that conversation is so much more pleasant than chasing after them. All right. Step number 4 is all about creating this image of authority and expertise. Very, very important. People need to know you, like you, and trust you with their money to invest with you. So the good thing about having that target group of people we have that pre-existing relationship with is they already know us. They already like us. Now we just have to work on the trust factor. We've got 2 out of the 3 already lined up. As far as I'm concerned, I think Meatloaf sang a song around this, 2 out of 3 ain't bad. So what we're going to work on here is number 3, which is all about creating that expertise and authority. And there's lots of different ways to do that, even if you don't have a lot of experience under your belt, okay? So first thing is, let's take that role of leadership. Let's be seen as a leader, the half glass full kind of person. Next thing, big suggestion, even if you're meeting with somebody via Zoom, even if it's a one-on-one Zoom meeting, if you are talking about capital, if you're trying to raise capital from somebody, dress up, at least business casual, you guys, all right? Dress the part. Speak knowledgeably about your strategy and the market that you're investing in. Have good-looking materials, sharp materials. Don't go cheap, folks. Spend a few bucks on some good materials, especially business cards, that sort of thing. And nowadays, if you want to be taken seriously, you absolutely have to have a website. And you're going to have a website, make sure you've got lots of videos on your website, because a real estate website with videos gets 400% more interaction and more opt-ins than the same exact site, all just written information, all right? And video works so well because it's the next best thing to being there face-to-face. Make sure you get, in addition to the website, invest a few bucks in getting some good headshots done, get some good business cards, look sharp, folks, all right? Another quick example, case study, Todd. When I first met Todd, he was just getting back into real estate investing. Todd had done quite well in his early 20s. He built up a portfolio, I think, of 3 properties. Then life kind of came in. He got busy getting married, having kids, new job, all this kind of stuff. the real estate kind of went on the back burner. He came out to an event, got re-inspired about real estate investing, got educated about using other people's money, and he took massive action. And in 6 months, he added 18 more units to his portfolio. Last time I heard about Todd, he was well over 80 doors in his portfolio and working as a full-time real estate entrepreneur. All right, you guys, step number 5 of the 5-step process. Once we've got a few investor partners on board, it's so much easier to get more of them because birds of a feather flock together. Your investors probably know other people of a similar socioeconomic status who could invest with you. So it's all about getting good testimonials, ideally video testimonials, and warm referrals. All right, that's what it's all about. Okay, you guys, we've gone over a lot of stuff very, very quickly. We're going to open up here for Q&A in just a few minutes, but let's do a quick review and see how this can work for you. So again, real estate is our vehicle of choice when it comes to creating our ideal income, our ideal net worth, and bottom line, our ideal lifestyle. You are the driver of your real estate vehicle. Money is the fuel that makes it go. And having investor partners on board, that's like having a sports car. It's going to get you where you want to go so much faster, and you're going to have a lot more fun at the same time. So it's up to you. You can keep self-financing, and that's a very, very slow, small growth over a long, long time. Or you can get where you want to go so much faster by creating your own investor gas station. You can fill up anytime you want because there are literally trillions of dollars out there looking for a better home, folks. So like Robert Kiyosaki, author of Rich Dad Poor Dad, says, he or she who raises the most money wins. So you guys, what I want to do is just invite you to check out what I'm going to be doing at this upcoming workshop and see if it's interesting for you. So you've learned a little bit here today, but if you don't take action on what you've learned, you might as well not have learned it. It's worse than not knowing in the first place. So keeping along with our vehicle analogy, if you remember way back to when you first learned how to drive, chances are your mom and dad did not throw you the keys to the car and say, go for it. Good luck. No, they didn't do that. Chances are they got in the car with you or they got you driving lessons and somebody showed you step by step exactly what to do. Well, that's what I want to be. I want to be your driving instructor when it comes to attracting investors, raising capital, and going through this whole money partner formula, 5-step formula. So that's why I've got this special one-day, full-day workshop happening on July the 25th. And I'm going to tell you briefly a little bit about it because this is definitely the ultimate shortcut to get from where you are to where you want to be with your investing career, you guys. And now is the time to do it. Quit fooling around on Netflix. Quit wasting time on Facebook. Invest a day in yourself to grow your real estate business. So let me tell you a little bit about what you're going to get. First thing is, you're going to get a full day of full-on training. This is not light. This is not little whitewash kind of training like you've seen before. This is not a pitch fest with multiple speakers trying to sell you stuff. It's you and I in a small group, maximum 55 people, going through this 5-step process over an 8-hour period, you guys. It is a full day of training. This is the kind of stuff that other so-called gurus charge thousands of dollars for. And nobody does this because nobody talks about my process because I came up with it, all right? So what I've done is for this one day, I've said, okay, Dave, if I were starting over from scratch today under the current COVID situation, what would I do to bring on investors and start raising my first $100,000, $200,000, maybe $300,000, and how would I do it in the next 4 to 6 weeks? So I've come up with this roadmap on exactly how to do that. So session number 1 is all about who to target and how to create your contact list of prospective investors, how to connect with them on a personal level first before we start talking business, because you don't want to be like a bull in the china shop like I was and just screw everything up and shoot yourself in the foot. So you want to get off on the right foot. I'm going to show you how step by step, give you the tools to do it as well. Step number 3 is all about creating your $1 million investor presentation and how to use this online, right? Zoom is the thing we're going to be talking about. It's all about your very own $1 million investor presentation. So you guys, like I say, I've personally raised millions of dollars for my own deals. My clients, my students have raised cumulatively hundreds of millions for their deals. Following the process, I'm going to show you step by step there. You're going to see how to do this one-on-one, how to do this on Zoom presentations, and how to do group presentations online, webinars. This is a game changer, you guys. Let me give you a quick example here. This is Mark. When I first met Mark, he was transitioning from small deals into apartment buildings. He had his first apartment building deal under contract, 14 units up, 3 units down. Had it all tied up. Only challenge was he didn't have the down payment. So I said, Dave, what should we do? So, okay, we should have started a while ago, but here's what we're going to do now. We're going to create a webinar for your people. So we created his $1 Million Investor presentation, held a webinar. Bottom line, within a week, he raised the capital he needed to buy that deal. All right, that was about $440,000. That's cool. But what's even cooler is about 6 months later, he found a bigger, better deal, downtown Edmonton this time. Got under contract, did another webinar. Took him a little longer, but in about 10 days, he raised $1 million, bought that second property, and that's the one that got him out of the rat race. That's the one that allowed him to quit his nice, secure government job with the pension and all that kind of stuff and become a full-time real estate entrepreneur. So have a little listen to what Mark had to say. And Mark was in the same position you guys are, kind of wondering about whether this made sense or not. It's cranked, my friend.
Wow. I mean, the first time we got together was when I had this big deal that I didn't know how to raise capital for, and you helped me. You were really instrumental in helping me see that through.
How much money did you raise from the webinar that we did? Do you recall?
We were able to raise $440,000, which is what we needed to close on that deal. It's mind-blowing. Mind-blowing.
All right, you guys. I've been doing webinars for so long. They weren't even called webinars back then. They were called teleseminars. We had to do these over the phone. Bruce, you remember those teleseminar days? Yeah. Okay, so I do on average 3 webinars a week. I've got the process dialed in. I'm going to be giving you in the one-day workshop a step-by-step tutorial on exactly how to do your own webinars for raising capital. It's going to make things absolutely a game changer for you. Session number 4, all about the constant, consistent communication, the marketing. I want to share my #1 online marketing strategy for raising capital. I'm going to go in depth on that. And session number 5, one of our favorite words in real estate, all about leverage. I'm going to show you how to leverage everything that you've learned and really kick things up into overdrive. So again, how are you going to do it? I'm going to show you how step by step in this one-day virtual online workshop. We start at 11 a.m. Eastern time, go till 7 p.m. Eastern time. It is a full one-day workshop, and we do it via Zoom. We got breakout rooms. We make it as similar as humanly possible to a live workshop that you'd attend at a hotel ballroom, all right? So you get all of that. You're not going to just get that. You're also going to get all of the slides from each one of those 5 sessions I'm going to be going over. There's over 100 slides per session, over 500 slides altogether. You get all of that in a nice PDF workbook that you can refer back to anytime you want, and that's another $49 value. So you guys, the workshop itself, this is the equivalent of what the big guys would literally charge you $2,000, $3,000, $4,000, maybe even $5,000 for. You got the workbook. You're probably saying, well, okay, Dave, sounds good, but what's this going to put me back? Well, here's the thing. When I was doing this pre-COVID and flying out and putting on workshops at hotels and stuff, I charged $97 for this kind of event, and I'll explain why it's so expensive. But we're doing this online now, so you're saving me having to traipse across the country. So your investment is just $49. Now it's $49 US, but for our Canadian customers, we include the taxes in that to give you a little bit of a break. The reason we charge US dollars is because we're working with international audiences nowadays, you guys. We've got folks from as far away as Australia. We've got lots of folks from the United States, so we charge in US dollars, but we keep it, like my granny used to say, cheap like Borscht. All right, I'll explain why. But to make this an absolute no-brainer for you, I've got some action taker bonuses for you as well. So when you come out to the event on July the 25th, when you Zoom in from the comfort and safety of your home, you're also going to get these bonuses. And the first one is my More Deals Now deal attraction marketing system. So what I want to do at this event is create a good problem for you. And that good problem is you're going to have more capital than you've got deals. So then what I want to do is I want to help solve that problem and help you to get more deals now. All right. So this is all about, what you do to shake the tree and find motivated sellers. This is how I did those 18 deals in 18 months. Again, without ever surfing the MLS, without ever cold calling any FSBO sellers, all by attracting motivated sellers to me. I've sold this in the past for as much as $1,000. It's yours as a free bonus for coming out on the 25th. Next one is a special report. Actually, no, this is an online digital program with some very, very sharp folks from a few years ago. Russell Westcott, #2 guy at Rain for a lot of years, author of Real Estate Joint Ventures. July Ono, who went from 0 to 500 doors in a decade, all with other people's money. Bruce, our good mutual friend, Paul Blacquiere, Canada's leading expert when it comes to using other people's retirement funds 4-year deals. Again, another $1,000 value, yours as a free bonus. And last but not least, a one-on-one strategy session. Because what I'm going to do on the one-day workshop on the 25th is I'm going to walk you through the whole process of exactly how to market and attract investors, getting your phone ringing, people reaching out to you. What I'm not going to go over are specific deal structures and how much you should be paying your investors and this kind of stuff, because everybody's going to be different. It's going to be completely different if you're focusing on single family homes and you're using one investor per deal. If you're bringing on an investor to help qualify for financing, if you're just using debt capital, everybody's going to be a little bit different. So what I can do there is in the one-on-one session is really dial it in for your particular scenario and show you how this whole process works. All right. So that's another free bonus for you. So you get the workshop, the workbook, more deals now, insider secrets, clarity session, total value over $3,500. Again, your investment is just $49. And let me do this, you guys, to make things a little simpler. I'm just going to copy and paste this into the chat box so you guys can just click directly on the link. Let's see, where's the chat box? Chat box isn't working for me. Why is that not working? I'm not sure why that's not working.
So Dave, I just sent you a message. It should be, a little orange light should be flicking at you.
I don't see any little orange lights flicking at me.
I'll try again. Okay, I sent you a direct message.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's not working.
So Dave, if you don't mind, I'll.
Oh, wait a sec. Here it comes. Here it is. Sorry.
All right, you saw it.
Found it. Found it. You wouldn't know that I use Zoom all the time. I'm going to send this to everybody, you guys. All right, so that should be a direct link. Just click on that in the chat box, and Bob's your uncle. All right, perfect. We're going to wrap up here in a few seconds, you guys, and then we'll open up for Q&A. There's a few other folks. When I first started doing these, I thought they were going to be a 4 or 5 hour workshop. Turned out to be an 8-hour workshop to get this all in. Adele said the fact that everybody stayed on for 8 hours on a lovely Saturday speaks volumes of the content and teaching capabilities. Jessica said, 8 hours very well spent. Dave knows his stuff and is fantastic at sharing his knowledge in an easy to understand manner. So again, you guys, we keep this to 55 people max. We already have a little bit of an overflow from the last workshop. So at this point, we've got 49 spots available. And we're going to be doing a couple more promotional webinars in the next week. So if you're interested, grab a spot before they're gone. And if you're skeptical, like I know a few of you are, because I'm a skeptic too, you're probably going, Dave. So supposedly, you're going to be doing a full day of training. It's going to be awesome training, 8 solid hours. You're giving us all these free bonuses, giving us workbook. You're charging us $50 for this. You're not getting rich on the $50 charge. Why are you doing this? What's in it for you? Good question. Good question that you should be asking. I'm just going to open the curtain and explain exactly why I'm doing this. So first thing, yeah, I do get a kick out of it, but the $50 ticket price doesn't go very far, you guys. Here's the deal. I have a small boutique marketing agency, and we do one thing exceedingly well. We work with one group of clients, and that is real estate entrepreneurs like yourself. And the one thing we do is we help you implement and put into place all of the marketing you need to do to start attracting investors and raising capital. So this is a way for me to meet new prospective clients, all right, all in one fell swoop. So I give you a solid day of training. I show you exactly what to do and how to do it. If you're a real do-it-yourself kind of person, you can run with it and you can go do it yourself. That's fine, all right? However, if you're looking for some help, we have a couple of different resources I'm going to make available to you on the workshop, 2 to be exact, all right? So I'm going to have 2 different offers. I'm going to hopefully make you an irresistible offer to take me up on them. If you want them, great. If you don't want them, that's okay too. Fair enough? How's that for complete transparency? And like I say, I'm going to make you an irresistible offer to take me up on that. So if you're interested, make sure you go there. If you're worried about your $50, don't be. You got a complete money back guarantee. And here's how that works. Come to the entire event. So enroll now, grab your ticket, come out on the 25th, attend the entire event, all 8 hours. If you aren't thrilled for any reason, let me know. I'll give you your $50 back. But here's the deal. If you want your money back, I'm not giving you the bonuses. Fair enough? Is that fair, Bruce? All right.
Yes, sir.
All right, perfect. So you guys, you've seen all sorts of examples. Here's John Simcoe. He's raised over $32 million. If anybody doesn't need to attend this, it's John. He just came out again last fall, wrote me this messy little note. Dave, thank you for helping me attract the money to do my real estate deals. Our mutual friend, Brian Dagenet. Brian went through this process right out of the gate, raised enough capital to buy a sixplex downtown Ottawa. Paul Reynolds, John Wiles, these guys were already capital raising rock stars. They raised millions of dollars the old way, cold calling, dialing for dollars, smooth and chasing money. They were pretty good at it, but it sucked even for them. They said, we want a different way. So they applied the process, quickly raised 1.5 million. And these guys buy self-storage facilities around North America. All right. Bruno Jury, new Canadian. Very first time he used the $1 million investor presentation, raised $200,000. Craig Lingard went from chasing the money to having more money than deals. Karen Leona, very first presentation, raised $80,000. Aaron Belmore, 2 webinars, $673,000. We already took a look at Marco Nava. These guys, one of my favorite stories, Jamie and Leslie. They had 2 properties under their belt when I first met them, self-financed. They were a little bit nervous about the whole process, but they tried it and they applied it. Very, very quickly raised their first $120,000, got the ball rolling. Within a year, a little over a year, they went from 3 doors to 47 doors. Jamie quit her job. All right. Last time I talked to him, they're at 72 doors. They were just buying a small resort in Curacao, Caribbean, kind of expanding things. They definitely living their real estate lifestyle. And remember, I told you about the 15-year-old kid that just bought a 5-plex, not using his mom and dad's money. That's the kid, their son. They learned all about attracting investors, raising capital from me. They taught their son. He applied it. He raised the capital he needed to buy his own 5-plex. 15-year-old kid, people. If he can do it, you can do it. All right. So that's what it's all about. And what we're going to do here, Bruce, I'm going to open up for Q&A. In the meantime, if anybody has any questions, go ahead, type them in the chat box. And here's some other folks just like you who are thinking about coming out to this event.
Dave has already over-delivered, you know, it's just so much fun, just an easy-going atmosphere, and it's more than I ever expected.
Learned a lot, and I'm ready to go out and make some deals.
I like the information. It's very actionable. It's just, he makes it so simple that you can just easily act on what he's teaching you.
Get in your vehicle and come. Yeah, fantastic. I think you need to be here. You need to experience it for sure. If you want to do this as a business.
Do you recommend Dave's future training events?
Oh, hands down, hands down. Dave's been a mentor of mine for a really long time, and I have everything to accredit to him for my real estate investing.
Can get focused now and take action. My wheels are spinning so fast, I think they're going to come off the rails.
Dave's showing me the right way to do it. You got to get off the fence. You got to come here. You got to learn from Dave.
Go for it. Can't go wrong. The program is awesome, and just do what it says in the program, take action, and you're on your way.
I think it's a very valuable investment. Anything that Dave offers, we've always found it to be top-notch.
You know, Dave Dubeau puts on a program, and he always delivers more than what you would expect, and it's no different this time. And he's put on a fantastic weekend here for all of us, and we've all learned some valuable stuff that's going to make us some money.
All right, you guys. So when you go to the website, here's what you're going to see. You're going to see Bruce's handsome face and my ugly mug. Scroll down a little bit, check it all out. If you want to, click on some of these. There's Jamie and Leslie. Check that out. Click on that video. Have a little listen to them. Read a little bit more about it. When you're ready, click on one of the big blue buttons, you guys. That's going to take you to the secure online order form. Go ahead. This is all encrypted. It's all secure. Put in your information there. Visa or MasterCard. Again, it's $49 US, taxes included. All right. And scroll to the bottom, click on the order button, and Bob is your uncle. All right. And now we can open up for Q&A. I am here for you, my friend. Yes, go ahead.
So Dave, we have 11 minutes left, but before I'm going to ask the questions and you're going to answer them. So we got to go a little bit more quickly, if that's okay with you.
Of course.
I'll ask them and you answer them. But before I ask any of the questions that came across, and there were quite a few of them, I have sat through, I don't know how many real estate presentations by others, you know, Mr. Rich Dad, Poor Dad, you know, and some others, many others, in fact. and I want to say quite honestly, and I've just learned how to use the reactions in Zoom, so I'm going to give you this. I have to tell you that this was fantastic. And I'm not just saying because you're on the call with me. Yeah, if you want to log off, I'll tell people what I really think. And what I really think is this was outstanding, outstanding. So I would like to start with this question. It came from Ishan Simnani. Should one start with big deals or just start with something smaller?
Okay, it depends on where you're at. So if you've already got some experience, that's a really good question, Bruce. Here's what I always suggest. So if you already got some experience when it comes to raising capital, sometimes people want to jump right into the big deals. If you've got a little bit of experience self-financing a few smaller deals, I suggest you continue on that path briefly with your investor partners because you've got a track record right there. Does that make sense? If you're trying to jump right into something that you haven't done before, that's difficult to raise capital for, right? Even if you got some experience with smaller deals. So to get the ball rolling, start with what you're already doing and keep going with that, and then build up into bigger deals.
I think that's right. So what Dave is saying,
yeah.
So what Dave is saying, Ishan, is you walk, you crawl, you walk, you run, you fly, you go to outer space. This question came from Guillaume McMartin. Who sets the terms for the investor? Does the investor say, I need a minimum return of X, or does the entrepreneur make that first step?
I suggest, and this is my take on things, you guys. So again, if you follow this process, the people that you're going to be bringing on as investor partners are probably not going to be super astute, super experienced real estate entrepreneurs. They're probably going to be regular folks who've got some home equity, regular folks who've got money in their RSPs, regular folks that have been getting crappy returns on their investments so far, and they're looking for something different. You set the parameters. You're the one that shows them what it's going to be, and they're either in or they're out. All right, that's my take on things. So I'm not in there negotiating here or there. I am in there saying, hey, here's the deal. Here's how it works. Are you in or are you out? Now, I'm not that blunt about it, but that's basically the idea. Does that make sense? So you show them how it works, and they're either interested or not. If you're starting to bend over backwards for people, you're in the wrong position, right? You need to take a position of leadership. Whether it's a joint venture partnership or it's just a straight investor on board, basically a debt partner, a debt investor, either way, you are the active investor. You're the one that's going to be setting the rules and
right. That's a good answer. Alex Culligan asks a question that kind of I was leading towards as well. How do you deal with ending partnerships if things are not working out?
That's a really good question. So, Bruce, you and I have been around the block a few times with partners. Some of us at a bigger scale than others, that's for sure. Partnerships can be very, very difficult. So when I talk about money partners, and there's joint venture partners, again, it's all about having things set up properly in the first place and having a clear understanding of who's in charge. Bottom line, you need to be the one that's in charge. If you're the active investor, if you're the active partner, even if they're putting in all the capital, their involvement needs to be minimal, and they need to understand that from the get-go. That needs to be set up in your joint venture agreement. That needs to be very, very clear all the way around. And if you've got a good joint venture agreement, for example, the one that we put together for the 5 investor partners for the 54-unit deal, that joint venture agreement cost $18,000 to put together.
Wow.
Now, it's like herding cats. So it had to pass, it had to go from our lawyer to all 5 lawyers of all of our investor partners, and everybody had to kind of come to an agreement. But we had a locked in, steel tight joint venture agreement that explained, hey, if you want out earlier in the deal, here's what's going to happen. Here's the penalty that's going to be involved. Here's, right of first refusal, all this kind of stuff. So if you're doing it that way, you may want to make sure that you've got a really, really good joint venture agreement. Do you have to spend 18 grand? Of course not. You can find a lot less expensive, but you start getting into the bigger deals, there's going to be an investment involved.
So Andrew, Dave, Andrew asks, how do you write a proper partnership agreement or joint venture agreement when you have multiple investors working with you?
Bring out a good lawyer like the one that you recommended, Bruce.
I think that's it. That's exactly right. The next question, it's again from Ishan, and I think it's a good one. What do you think about using financial advisors and financial planners to send investors your way?
Good luck. All right. My experience has been with financial planners. They're very, very nervous about sending their clients elsewhere because, especially once the clients start seeing the returns they're getting, the security they're getting with the investment, if you got a good deal, why would they keep their money in mutual funds anymore? And how is the financial planner going to make any money? All right. So no, I don't think that's going to work too well. Plus, again, you guys remember, to stay compliant with the Securities Commission, you really want to be focusing on people that you have a pre-existing relationship with, and that referral from a financial planner, unless it's an accredited investor, that doesn't qualify.
Next question was, how much, if you're the entrepreneur, how much equity should you expect to get out of this thing just for your sweat equity, just for your efforts in finding the deal and all the rest of that? What is typically accepted by investors?
Well, it really depends on the size of the deal. So a single family home, you guys, to give you an example, usually it's a 50-50 split. So you as the boots on the ground person, you're getting 50%, your money partner is getting 50%. You share all the profits, all the cash flow, all the risk, 50%, 50-50 as well. Okay.
Another question that this is, I think, a good one. This is from Bert. Assuming July 25th sells out and he's not able to get on there, will there be another date available, or is this a one-time thing?
There will be another date available. I'm not sure exactly when it'll be, Bert, but if you want to stay in touch, stay in touch. And quite frankly, you guys, I'm sorry to be a bit of a hard ass here, but if you're serious about this stuff, unless it's your daughter's wedding, change your plans and sign up. I mean, I have flown across the country. I've flown across into the States to attend seminars I've wanted to attend. If it's important to you, make the time now.
I couldn't agree more. This came from Kent Woodall. In the first example you gave, Dave, you identified $19,000 a month in earnings. That got everybody's attention right away, just like the $17,100 number got everybody's attention. To secure those properties, what percentage of the funding came from the investors and what percentage came from the entrepreneur?
100% from the investors.
Yeah, I think that's important to note, Kent, that the entrepreneur is being rewarded, as I sort of suggested earlier, for finding the deal, managing the deal, arranging the financing, doing some animations, renovations, whatever, leasing it, caring for it. If the plumbing backs up, you get the call, not the investor, but the investor puts up substantially all or almost all or all of the money. And that's what Dave teaches. Let's just make sure, I don't want to run out of time here, but we're almost there. I'll see if I can get one more in here, guys. Just give me a second here. Let's see. No, I think I got most of the this is a personal question. For an older entrepreneur like me, I'm 68 now, but I'm still an entrepreneur, Dave, as you know. Would investors be interested in older entrepreneurs? Because I do coach quite a few people who are in their 50s, 60s, some even in their 70s, who are looking for investors. Is age, you mentioned there was a 15-year-old, but is age on the other end of the scale a barrier?
It doesn't have to be. It's a barrier if you let it be a barrier. It's an advantage if you let it be an advantage. Here's why. I mean, think about it. us guys with a little bit of gray hair, if we still have any.
At least you have some.
You got a huge advantage over the 15-year-old or the 25-year-old that's all bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, because it's hard for an investor partner to take them seriously. Right. Versus somebody with life experience, somebody with a few wrinkles, somebody with all that kind of stuff, much, much easier to take seriously. Bruce, before we end up, I just want to let people know, because I promised them, the bonuses for being on the live call. You guys, if you scroll down to the very, very bottom of that website that I put the link in there, investorattractionworkshop.com/Firestone. Scroll down to the very, very bottom. Right at the very bottom, there's a little link there that says webinar bonuses. Click on that. I'm going to leave that up until the end of the day today, and then it's going to disappear. So that's just for people that are on the live call here today.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to go get my free stuff, and I would encourage everybody to sign up. You know, for $49, this is the, you know, Dave is a wonderful person. You got to know him a little bit today. I've known him for years. He is one of the very few other trainers in real estate, along with Paul Blackier and a small number of others, that I trust. And you guys know, because you've gotten to know me a little bit over the months we've been doing this, that trust is the #1 thing in life. It's not love, it's trust. Love wouldn't exist very long if you don't trust your girlfriend, your boyfriend, your partner, your wife, whatever, your husband. And Michael Rouge asks one more time. He's not sure where he signs up. Can you help him one more time, Dave? And then we're going to have to sign off. I hope everybody has a good summer. We're going to see everybody in September, so come on back in September. Michael, I'm asking Dave, this is the last thing we're going to do, because I do promise to get everybody out. We're 1 minute overtime, but it was worthwhile every second of it. So if you could just put in the chat box one more time for Michael. There's the link, Michael. Do you see it there, Mike? Just copy it out of, and Chris, same thing to you. There's the link. If you copy the link, just copy it right now before I sign off. Put it in your browser. Go right to the very, very, very bottom, right, tiny little bit. Dave, if you could highlight it one more time, there, right at the bottom where Dave's cursor is, at the very bottom there, your bonuses that are only available today. Listen, guys, go and grab them. This is like it's worth millions of dollars. Dave has done this for us, for the ROI group, and some of my pivoteers for free. He didn't get paid for this. He should have. I wish I could afford to pay him. A guy like this is too expensive. It would break my bank account. And he did this for us for free, and he'll do 8 hours of training, which is incredible, for $49. Nobody else I know. And I'm not just saying that because Dave's on the call. I said it before the call, and I'll say it after the call. This is a person you can trust, and he will help you pay and take care of yourself and your family for 3 generations. This is something you can do for yourself and for your children and your grandchildren. So to everybody, have a great summer. David, again, can everybody see if they can figure out how to use the reactions I just learned today? There we go. Did I clap? Yeah, I'm clapping. Can everybody do that for David? Because this was really extraordinary. All the best, David. Michael's doing it for real.
Thanks, Michael.
Thank you again, and blessings to everybody. Thanks, Guillaume. Thanks, everybody. Alex, fantastic. Everybody, Christian, thanks for coming. Everybody, love you all.
Thanks, Bruce.